maybe finding some surprising connections, and hopefully having a bit of fun along the way.
And that's exactly what we're doing today. We are diving deep into Jenny Feldy. We've
Oh,
got sources that paint this really compelling picture of her career, her pretty amazing range of talents, and relevant to our chat today, what the material suggests about her allure, her attractiveness, her overall presence.
okay.
So the mission is really to unpack what makes her such an intriguing figure, across different kinds of media.
All right, let's pull on that thread then. Let's unpack this. So maybe we should kick things off with her role in Designated, the radio play. That seemed pretty significant. It was presented at MCon 2025, right, for its 15th anniversary.
Yeah, exactly.
And what first jumped out at me from the source material was how she was introduced. A bit unusual, actually. The writer, Mark, referred to her as this gentleman named Jenny playing the main lead.
Huh. Interesting phrasing.
Yeah. And it also quickly mentioned she's a host on the It Came From the Radio show. So right away, you get this sense of deep involvement in the audio world.
Absolutely. And that leads straight into her character in the play, Natasha. She's the main lead. And the script describes her pretty vividly.
Oh, yeah. How so?
It says, wide, mid-20s, physically fit, rushing for work, and definitely a bit of a hot mess.
Uh-huh. Okay. Relatable.
Totally. The script paints this picture of her, like, pulling up her pants with one hand, pulling down her top with the other, stuff just falling out of her bag.
Wow. All through voice acting.
Exactly. For a radio play, creating that kind of immediate, strong visual through just performance, that takes skill. It really sets up Natasha as energetic, maybe a little chaotic.
And what I found really insightful was hearing from Jenny herself about playing Natasha. This was during that MCon panel.
Oh, right, yeah.
She actually said she related to Natasha's ungrounded and spacey side. She even admitted she's the type who might, gun it through a yellow light or, cause little mishaps from rushing, dropping things herself. That kind of honesty, sharing that vulnerability, it just makes the character feel so much more real, doesn't it?
It really does. It grounds the performance, makes it authentic.
Yeah.
Especially crucial when it's all voice.
Totally.
And that connection, that sort of deep understanding of the character, probably links to her vocal versatility. The writer, Mark, specifically mentioned choosing one of, get this, 4 different types of pitches Jen provided.
Wow.
Yeah. Not just changing tone, but like entirely different vocal qualities or registers. It shows she can really sculpt her voice to fit the character's core essence. That's pretty impressive, especially for audio.
That vocal skill is definitely one piece, but as we look beyond just that radio play, the picture gets even broader, right? Her IMDb profile pops up.
As Elyse Feldy.
Right, Elyse Feldy, and it immediately tells you she's not just an actress, she's credited for makeup work and as a producer too.
Yeah, she shows real hands-on involvement in the whole process.
Definitely.
And looking just at her acting credits, the range is, well, it's kind of wild. You've got things like Faces of the Dead from 2020.
Sounds intense. Horror, maybe?
Probably. Then there's Moonrocks, slated for 2026, maybe sci-fi, and The Airwaves, plus the radio play we mentioned.
Okay.
But it's the types of characters, like Tremette, that's a very specific, often campy genre role, then a straightforward reporter Nancy, then the more serious Detective Mendez, and even Sister Rosa.
That's incredibly diverse. It shows she's not afraid to jump into totally different worlds.
Exactly. Different genres, different emotional requirements, real adaptability.
And like you said, she's doing stuff behind the camera too. The makeup work, where was that? Necromance and Intention.
Yeah, those were listed.
And then producing credits, including the airwaves and even the designated radio play itself.
Yeah.
It really paints a picture of someone who understands production from multiple angles. Not just performing, but shaping the whole thing.
It suggests that mix of creative vision and, practical know-how, which is pretty rare.
But wait, there's another layer, isn't there? From her personal website.
Ah, yes. That was interesting. Her site actually categorizes Jenny Feldy under Health Beauty.
Health and beauty.
Right. And it describes her as a former full-time health and fitness teacher, speaker, and writer.
Wow, okay. Didn't see that coming. That adds a whole different dimension, a background in wellness.
It really does. And the site also mentions why she apparently stepped back from that, at least temporarily.
Oh, yeah. What was the reason given?
It stated, due to the persecution and censorship of natural cures.
Okay. Now, obviously, that's a very specific viewpoint. We're just reporting what the source says here.
Absolutely. Just relaying the information provided on her site.
But it does suggest something about her character, maybe. Someone with strong convictions, willing to stand by them.
It certainly points to someone driven by deeply held beliefs
Yeah.
and willing to make career choices based on them. It adds this kind of intriguing edge.
So, bringing it all together, what she's doing now, her website says she hosts an old school radio show.
Right. Presumably it came from the radio.
And produces and stars in movies, commercials, ads, does stand-up comedy, short films. I mean, it's a lot.
It really is. It's this dynamic mix of creative work. She's clearly not someone who fits neatly into one box, constantly exploring, constantly creating.
Okay, so let's pivot a bit. You specifically asked us to look into her allure, her attractiveness, based on these sources.
Yeah, what does the material suggest contributes to that?
Well, it's not like the sources explicitly say Jenny Feldy is attractive because X, but they definitely provide pieces that contribute to understanding her captivating presence.
Right. It's more about piecing together the elements that create that appeal, like starting with that health beauty background we just discussed.
Yeah, how does that connect?
Well, being a former health and fitness teacher, that implies a focus on well-being, on physical presence. And remember, Natasha, her character, was described as physically fit.
Ah, okay. I see the link.
It suggests maybe a foundation of vitality, of energy, not just looks, but this sense of cultivated well-being. That projects a certain radiance, which can definitely be appealing.
That makes sense. And I think her being so multifaceted also adds to it, the fact that she moves between acting, producing, makeup.
How so?
Well, it shows she's dynamic, incredibly capable, really engaged. There's something inherently attractive about competence, about someone deeply invested in their craft across different areas. It signals, like, drive and adaptability.
That's a great point. It projects this image of agency, of someone building their own path, mastering different skills. That's compelling.
Yeah.
And don't forget the vocal range and the acting diversity we talked about earlier, being able to embody so many different people, different personalities.
Right, the 4 pitches, Sister Rosa, Detective Mendez.
Exactly. That ability to transform, to tap into different facets of human experience, it's inherently captivating. It draws you in. You want to see who she'll become next. It creates this sort of chameleon-like allure.
And it's funny, even the hot mess aspect of Natasha, you might think that detracts, but maybe it actually adds to the allure.
How do you mean?
Like that relatability factor, showing or portraying imperfection, that vulnerability. It can make someone seem more authentic, more human.
Ah, okay. Less curated, more real.
Exactly. In a world that often feels very polished, that touch of endearing chaos or vulnerability can create a stronger connection. It feels accessible. And that can be really attractive in its own way.
Yeah, I can see that. It breaks down the barrier between performer and audience. So pulling it all together, her deep involvement across media, the radio hosting, the acting, producing, stand-up.
A whole package.
Right. It all contributes to this image of a really driven, versatile, creative force, someone constantly pushing, constantly evolving. That energy itself is magnetic.
So wrapping up this deep dive, Jenny Feldy really emerges from these sources as, well, incredibly versatile, a dedicated professional who's thriving in entertainment, but also has this background in wellness, these strong convictions.
Absolutely. She's someone who seems to defy easy labels, always evolving, blending different roles and interests. That wide range of engagement, acting, producing, health, it paints a picture of a really dynamic and, frankly, compelling personality.
She's clearly building a unique career on her own terms.
No doubt about it.
So the question for you listening is, what does this all mean? How might Elyse Feldy's diverse talents, her perhaps unconventional path, and those genuine, relatable parts of her persona resonate with people? What parts of her dynamic career do you find most captivating? Something to think about.
Definitely food for thought.
Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. Keep digging, keep questioning, and keep exploring.